you've been in practice here for quite a while, Mr. Ryan, right? So you were practicing in 17 when the cap was imposed, right?
Correct. That's right. That's right.
Just briefly, can you describe the impact that it had on Massachusetts?
Sure.
Best you can, and kind of update us.
Sure. So in 2017, as part of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, the state and local tax deduction was capped at $10,000. So what that means for Massachusetts taxpayers is they can only deduct up to $10,000, and that's inclusive of their Massachusetts personal income tax, as well as their property taxes and certain other taxes. So it really eliminated a fairly significant deduction for most taxpayers in Massachusetts, especially given how high property taxes can be here, and the fact that there's income. It is a relatively high income tax state. So the result of it is that Massachusetts taxpayers would end up paying more in federal income tax.
And now that it appears as if, I mean, there's a ways to go, it has to make it through the Senate and so forth, but now that it appears that that cap's going to be lifted significantly higher, what's your initial sense of the impact?
Well, I think it would be great for Massachusetts taxpayers because it's quadrupling the cap is from what I most recently read up to $40,000, and there's a phase out that doesn't come in until $500,000. So if you want to use round numbers, somebody who makes $500,000 a year will be able to deduct both their state income tax, and then if they pay up to $15,000 a year in property taxes, they'll be able to deduct the full $40,000. So it's a significant deduction for federal purposes for Massachusetts taxpayers.
Quite a few people pay a lot in property taxes here. It's not just the super rich by any means, but give me an expert overview of who this will really affect.
It will benefit homeowners, especially people who live in wealthier towns with higher property taxes and higher income taxpayers. To the extent there's taxpayers that don't have to file a tax return in Massachusetts, this doesn't make any difference to them because they have no federal tax liability. But it's essentially a benefit for high earning homeowning taxpayers.
I know you're not a politician, but there is kind of an intriguing set of political ripple effects from this, aren't there?
It is. And going back to 2017, this was enacted because it's a pay for some of the other tax cuts that were included in the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, both on the personal and on the corporate side. And I think the makeup of the House was different then. So there was less friction with, and maybe there was less blue state Republicans, or maybe the margin in the House was different. I don't remember, but they were able to really push the cap down, and that generated money to cut taxes on other things. Here, they need to keep certain Republicans in New York, New Jersey, and California happy. So that's why there's such a debate over the size of the cap.
In a way, please feel free to disagree if you do disagree with this, but it just strikes me that for Massachusetts liberals who bitterly oppose giveaways to the rich, quote unquote, and who actively supported the millionaire's tax, to cite one example, this might actually be a little bit of a blessing in disguise in that it takes away some of the argument that you're turning the state into inhospitable country for higher wage earners.
It's funny because the people that are it puts politicians on the opposite side of an issue that they usually would be on, where Democrats typically would be more unfavorable towards giveaways to the higher income people. Here, for example, the representatives in New York State that are pushing the cap, that is a high tax state, and it's Republicans that are looking to give taxpayers a break, and the Democrats sort of cause this by having higher taxes, higher property taxes, and so on within their state at the state level.
Well, it kind of indicates how, what's the word I want? How awkward tax politics can be.
No, awkward is the best way to describe it, because like I said, it puts people on that are typically on one side of an issue on the other side of the issue, which it's kind of rare you see that.
Well, this wouldn't be the first time we've seen that recently in our politics, that's for sure. Everything seems to be topsy-turvy. Oh, one other quick thing. I don't know how closely you've been following what's been going on in DC, but the president was for this, then he sort of has backed away from it, but it looks like it's going ahead.
I think it's really hard. It's going to be really hard to get this through because there's a lot of various factions within the Republican Party as far as what they want to do. And since this is going to be done through reconciliation, they have to pay for these types of things. And so if they increase the cap, maybe they have to cut Medicare back, or have less, less spending in other areas. So I think it's going to be hard to get it over the finish line and keep everybody happy, because remember that there's no tax on tips is something that just passed the Senate, and that's, takes away some revenue, and so it'll be interesting to see how this ends up playing out, because you can't offer everything tax-free to everyone and then not have any revenue coming into the country. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out.
I read one article indicating that Massachusetts was had the fifth highest average salt deduction, $8,800. Um, how big a deal is this financially?
Oh, it's a huge deal, especially if you can deduct up to $40,000 when you think about when you think about your taxes and how much you're able to deduct, going from, 8,800 or maybe $10,000 that's capped, and then quadrupling it. It's good. People who are able to take the full deduction will see a significant decrease in their federal income tax bill.
And I thought I saw something about how it will increase the number of people who are itemizing their deductions.
Yes,
Does that make any sense?
that should be that should be, yeah, because you'll just have more deductions and you'll be able to offset. It'll be higher than the standard deduction. So again, it's really a boon for taxpayers that pay a lot in taxes.